News is in today, it's July 12th, that Bernie Sanders is poised to endorse Hillary Clinton for the presidency in New Hampshire, the state that really launched his candidacy because he won there in a landslide. So this is a sad day for me because I don't want to have a Clinton presidency. At all costs, I want to avoid that, even if it takes having Trump in the White House for 4 years. And no, I don't think Trump is qualified to be the president. But I don't want to go into this. This is a long debate. I can spend the whole segment just talking about this, but let me just summarize it real quick. I believe that it's better to have Trump, an unqualified president, rather than somebody whom we know does not represent us. Trump is a wild card, and you're right, he could do crazy things. But he could, whenever there is chaos, there's always the chance that the debris is going to fall just right, right? When you have somebody who is contriving and manipulating everything so as to benefit the people in power, the plutocracy, the top 1%, then that's clearly worse. I mean, this is the way I'm reasoning it. Okay, anyway. So to me, this is a sad day that Clinton is going to be supported because I just don't trust her. No matter what she says, no matter how many things she writes into the Democratic platform, and no matter how many liberal supporters she has who urge her to tack left, she is not going to do it. She's not going to do it. It's not in her blood. It's not in her DNA. For decades, for a long time, she has played this centrist position, the Democratic Leadership Council, I believe it's called, DLC. That's the Clinton triangulation, what they call. Okay, the Clintons have always been pro-business, and they continue to be pro-business. And by the way, it might have made sense back in the 90s. So I'm not going to try to rewrite history here and cast aspersions at them for what they did in the 90s. In fact, some of the policies that they promoted and carried out in the 90s I actually support, such as welfare reform. But anyway. But she is incorrigible. She cannot be changed. She is ossified in a particular way, and no matter what, she will not change. So she might be paying lip service to this right now, but she will not actually act on behalf of the middle class, let alone the working class. But of course, everyone always says middle class. But middle class basically means somebody who's making $50,000 a year, maybe. If both parents are working, if both spouses are working, maybe they're making 60, 70. And these people are struggling, okay? Especially if you're living in a large city, $60,000 a year after you pay taxes and everything, and you don't qualify for any programs on that income level. And so these are the people who struggle the most in a way, because the people who make even less, they have many sources of government aid, and there's also arguably the prospect that they could actually get a job and make money. So that's also an argument that people could make. Now, of course, Democrats don't like that argument, but anyway, it's beside the point. So it's a sad day for me. So what I wanted to discuss is what is my position? How do I feel about Sanders right now? Okay, so here's what I want to say. I am a big Sanders supporter. I supported him from the get-go. Over a year ago when he first launched, I was instantly on his side, and I was rooting for him and promoting him every step of the way. I was tweeting about him. I donated to his campaign several times. I wrote blogs promoting him, and so on and so forth. And unlike another eminent progressive, namely Elizabeth Warren, he really is willing to fight for his beliefs. So unfortunately, Elizabeth Warren basically sold out. She copped out. She and the reasoning that she had in not supporting him probably went something like this. He's probably not going to win. He meaning Sanders. He's probably not going to win the nomination. She might have even been thinking that he cannot win a national election even if he does win a nomination. But either way, she's thinking he's not going to win. So why should I endorse him or support him openly and then ruin my goodwill with the Democratic Party and especially with the Clintons? So why support a losing horse in the race? The mistake that she made is, first of all, as it turned out, he was far more popular than anyone could have anticipated. And so now, in retrospect, if she had supported him, an argument could very well be made that he would have won the pledged delegates. Now, if he could still win, if he would have still won the actual nomination, is another question. And many people are going to argue, well, the superdelegates, they would have not voted for him. Okay, but that's a separate question. But I believe that if he had won the pledged delegates, then he would have won at the convention also. And so, and he wasn't that far off from winning the pledged delegates. He was off by 300, but that's already counting everything. So at that point, when Massachusetts was voting, of which Elizabeth Warren is a representative in Congress, she's the senator of Massachusetts. So at that point, she could have put her thumb on the scale by openly endorsing him, and then almost certainly, I mean, the election there was really close. Almost certainly, Sanders would have won. And if that were the case, then everything could have been differently going forward. You know, with Warren on his side, things would have been very different. So I'm very indignant and disappointed that Warren didn't support him. And I believe that it's cowardly of her not to have supported him, because the brave thing would have been to stand with him on principle, even if she thinks he can't win. And in fact, Clinton would have appreciated her all the more when and if she finally would have gone over to her side when he loses. Okay? So just like the fact that her opinion really counts a lot nowadays. And it's not true that she cannot afford to alienate Clinton, because Clinton equally cannot afford to alienate her. But anyway, so Warren has no credibility in my eyes. However, Sanders still has a lot of credibility, and so it bothers me that he's going to endorse Clinton, because I just don't trust Clinton. And so here's what Sanders is thinking. Sanders is thinking, okay, I didn't win the nomination, I'm not going to win the presidency, but at least I won the battle for reforming the platform. Okay, because the last month or so has been invested in trying to revise the Democratic platform to reflect the interests of the progressives, the progressive wing, such as, for example, the major thing that the media was all over the last few days is free college education for all. Okay, so that was one of the Sanders planks, and now supposedly it's in Clinton's platform. So, and so as far as Sanders is concerned, he's thinking, okay, it's not about me, it's about principles, and you know, we have a base of supporters who will continue fighting for these principles, and some of these principles are already in the platform, and they will inevitably influence the way politicians think about things and the way they act. That's how Sanders is thinking. So the battle has been won. Okay, maybe the war is not won, but at least I won something. In reality, the obvious retort is that a platform means nothing. And that's the truth, by the way. A platform does mean nothing, because everyone knows, anyone who is a shrewd political observer or an analyst would know that a platform is something that you write and you convene over and you formulate and you put it on paper. But then when it comes to actual governance, you govern in a way that is most expedient at the time, right? Which means try to look at the polls, especially in your party, but just polls in your, among your constituency is very important, national polls as well. And you see, what do the people want? And if they want you to do a particular thing, you're going to try to do that thing, unless there are donors on the other side, in which case you're going to try to figure something out, meaning pander to the majority who wants you to do one thing, but at the same time, behind the scenes, actually do the bidding of the wealthy donors. So that's usually the way politics works. So the platform has very little play in this overall scheme. And Sanders knows this. Sanders is a shrewd enough politician to know that the platform doesn't mean much. But what he's probably thinking is that the platform is really a mere manifestation of what the overall will of the people is. So he's probably thinking to himself, okay, so the actual platform is non-binding, but it shows what the people want. And he's hoping that politicians will actually go with what the people want, because they've basically spoken. You know, they're organized, they're coalescing, and they're voicing their beliefs and their positions, and they cannot be ignored anymore. Okay, that's how Sanders is thinking. But I'm very skeptical about this. You know, I think that he's more optimistic than the facts warrant. That's basically my assessment on this. And so, even though I still have a lot of respect for him, I feel that, I don't want to use the word betrayal, but I feel it's a letdown that he is endorsing Clinton. He shouldn't have. He shouldn't be endorsing him. And I know all the excuses. I know. I can play this scenario in my mind. Probably during the platform debates, the Clinton folks are probably saying to him, okay, we can give you this, we can concede to you on free college education for all, but will you endorse me? and then Sanders is in a bind there, because he ran on a Democratic ticket, right? So if you're running on a Democratic platform, you're supposed to endorse the eventual nominee. So unless you have a case for actually contesting the nomination, which he doesn't because he lost everything, and he never had the superdelegates in the first place, but he lost the pledge delegates as well. And so he doesn't really have a substantive argument to make there. And so there isn't much that he can go by, and all he can basically do is say, okay, I can try to endorse you and deliver my base to you if you adopt some of my platform. And that's what Clinton, in fact, has done. And so there's nothing more that he could do. That's the argument. And he's expected, as a gentleman and as somebody who ran on the Democratic ticket, to support Hillary. But again, like I said, it's a strong symbolic move, and there's no question that there will be many Sanders supporters who will vote for her based on this endorsement. I won't, because I understand politically how he is coerced into this based on the unfortunate partisan political setup that we currently have in our country. The way that it's only two parties run things, and he was forced to run on the Democratic Party, on the Democratic ticket, because no other party gets any coverage. You have to belong to one of the two parties in order to have a chance. And believe me, Sanders is critical of this. He doesn't like this. And any rational and honest observer would be critical of this as well. But that's just the way our country is right now. And given the exigencies of the time, he is basically forced, or at least that's the way he sees it, he's forced to endorse Clinton. So it's a sad day, and yeah, I will definitely not vote for Clinton. Now, whom I will vote for is still up in the air. I don't have a final candidate yet. I am still considering voting for Jill Stein, for example. She is the Green Party nominee. By the way, she offered her position, her slot as a party's nominee. She offered it to Sanders if he chose to take it. But of course, that would have also been a politically crazy move for him to do, because again, he ran on the Democratic ticket, so he's forced to do it all the way, meaning support the eventual nominee of the party and not jump ship. But that would have been really interesting to observe if he had actually taken up her offer. But anyway, so I'm considering voting for her. I'm still considering possibly even voting for Trump. I might sit out the election. Or I might vote for, who is the other nominee? Is it Gary something? You see? This is how little coverage he gets. In fact, you'll never see him mentioned anywhere. I mean, even Jill Stein that never appears on national media. But the other one, Gary Johnson, I think. Yeah, Gary Johnson. And he belongs to the Independent Party, I believe. I'm not even sure. So that's another possibility. I know very little about him, by the way. And you know what? Yeah, you can fault me for that, because I should have, as a generally informed voter and political observer, I should have known more about him. But anyway, but yeah, so I'm not sure yet. Okay, so long for now. I hope this was of help to some. Bye-bye.